Milwaukee have left a lot of people wondering about the game plan after electing to waive Damian Lillard. The Lakers, Celtics, and Warriors, all teams that have expressed interest in signing the 9-time All-Star who tore his Achilles back in April. Now, there is a silver lining to being waived by Milwaukee. Dame now controls his own destiny. The free agent can choose to sign wherever he wants, putting a new spin on Dame time there. Lillard expected to miss much, if not all, of next season while recovering. Taking a look here at the rest of our top 10 free agents available, you won't see Damian Lillard's name on this list as he does not crack the top 10. However, there have been a lot of eyes on Jonathan Kuminga as he is ranked as the top free agent available. Let's have some conversations when it comes to the future of Damian Lillard, and to do so, we've got our basketball crew of Brad Botkin and Nicole joining us. Guys, it seems obvious to say this, but at age 34, the window is not growing for Damian Lillard in terms of his career and what it looks like. But I do just want to start an open question here when it comes to teams that could be interested in him. And Brad, I'll come to you first here. Before we get to that, what are the expectations for Dame once he does return from that injury?
Damian Lillard's still a very good player. Like, I mean, if you go, yeah, you go look at his stats. Now, it didn't work out in Milwaukee. There was some problems with, their depth, and, we can talk about the coaching, and their defense really suffered when they lost Drew Holiday. But Damian Lillard is still a plus 20-point scorer, a tremendous threat off the pull-up that extends defenses well beyond the three-point line. So he's going to help somebody, no question about it. The question for Damian Lillard is, what kind of role does he want to take on his next team? Does he want to continue to be a starter? Is he willing to come off of the bench? Does he want to prioritize a championship ring or fit, destination where he wants to live? All those personal factors, those will be all the things that he's considering, because really, it's his canvas. I mean, he can play for a minimum salary or something thereabouts because the Bucks are footing the bill. So he can really go anywhere he wants.
Yeah, I agree with everything Brad said. It really depends on what he thinks his future is going to be, not this season, the following season. It's going to take him all of this season to really rehab, and he's probably not going to rush back, even if he does feel, if his team does feel that he is cleared to go ahead and start resuming basketball activities. Just doesn't make any sense. He's getting paid either way. But to Brad's point, what Damian Lillard thinks he can bring to a team and where he can bring that to are two very different things. Because if you want to be a starting point guard, that is going to limit the places that you can go. If you want to be a contender and don't mind being a backup, that's also going to limit the places that you can go. So it's up to Dame where he feels at this time he'll probably be, what, 36, 35 years old?
35 when he returns.
When we're having this conversation. So that's, a lot can change in the NBA landscape in a year. So it's about figuring out what that landscape is and what's more important. I feel like the biggest question he has to ask, do I want to be a starter or do I want to give myself a chance to win?
She said something important too, that a lot can change. It seems like the ball is rolling toward a quicker signing, but if he wanted to, he could see how this season plays out.
I would chill.
See who gets injured, see what spots open up, see what team does what. He could do that.
Yeah.
And you don't see that maybe shortening the leash as far as teams. If he sits a year and waits, is that going to make him any less desirable?
No, because he's out this year either way. So whether he's unsigned or not, whoever signs him right now is signing him for 2 years from now.
And given the timeline of his injury, realistically, he could possibly return this season, but at his age and really the uncertainty of what team you would go to, why would you rush that process? And we have seen what it looks like when guys rush back from rehabilitating an injury of this magnitude, especially at his age, too quickly. I would take the entire season off, collect my paycheck, and really take time to figure out what I want to do and who I want to do it with. He has a family. He always expressed how difficult Milwaukee was for him, that he never really wanted to go there. Being away from his family in Portland was extremely difficult. This gives him time to not only rehab, but be around his family, be around his kids, and really take the time to make a decision that ultimately is probably going to be where he ends his career.
Ash, something you said real quick before we move on to both of your landing spots. You said he has to make a choice on whether or not he wants to be a starter or if he wants to help. Do you think that he still is in that window of his career where he can be a starter and also help?
For sure, absolutely.
Okay, so we're all thumbs up.
Absolutely.
It's just that he's not like one of the 3 best point guards in the league anymore.
And he's not 25.
He can't go to the Warriors and be the starter. They have Steph Curry, but there's plenty of teams where he is still probably a top 10 point guard in the league.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, let's get to some of those teams when we talk about top landing spots. Ash, I'll come to you first. What fits best for Dame Lillard?
Okay, so this was under the assumption that he goes this year. Again, everything can change in the course of an NBA season, but for me, one of the teams is the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat are an interesting team because obviously they look a lot different than they did this time last year when you talk about Jimmy Butler and things like that. They have lost a lot. They really are trying to figure out their offensive groove. They're trying to figure out what this next version of the Miami Heat actually look like. And in a conference that's a lot easier than the West, Damian Lillard could obviously be a starter. Now, this is where it gets tricky. This is not a contending team. Now, the difference would be if Damian Lillard were to land on the Miami Heat, does he give them that scoring punch and a punch enough to make them better than they were without him? Remember, we've seen Jimmy Butler take this Miami Heat team to several playoffs, several conference finals, even the NBA finals, and it was doing a lot with not much. So that's going to be an interesting, again, this is under the impression that he wants to play this year. Another one of my teams were the Boston Celtics.
Okay.
They're a team that's kind of going through a weird situation as well with all the room that they're trying to make right now. I believe under the second apron, maybe possibly shedding some more. Again, this is a team that is in a weird situation due to Jason Tatum's injury. If I can see my list one more time, the biggest thing for me, though, that I want to focus on, these are some of the usual suspects. The Golden State Warriors, the Orlando Magic could use a veteran point guard as well. The Minnesota Timberwolves, for me, are the team that's the most interesting because I believe that this is a team he could not only start on, but this is also a contending team.
Right.
Fair.
And this, for me, would be the best fit for a player of Damian Lillard's capabilities, the type of locker room guy he is, because, again, you have Mike Conley there, but he's, what, 37 years old. Rob Dillingham also declined, I believe, or they're still in the building, but they're short-term, whatever. But Minnesota Timberwolves, for me, is the best fit.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with these teams. I have some other teams that I think would fit. The Heat, he's always wanted to go to Miami, so it's like
finally gets there.
I was going to say that's where he was kind of pushing for before this whole Milwaukee thing unraveled.
It's ready-made. I have the Warriors on there, and let's be clear, the Warriors, the Lakers, they have been reported as teams already that are interested. So this isn't just sort of me picking these out of a hat. And I like what she said about the Celtics because much like the Timberwolves, the Celtics really are without a point guard. You can call Derek White your point guard, but Drew Holiday's out of there. And he could walk into a starting lineup 2 years from now and the Boston Celtics can be ready to win. So I like that team. But Golden State, he'd be a backup. He'd be a backup to Steph Curry. But Damian Lillard's from Oakland. So it'd be a homecoming for him in that sense. The Orlando Magic have had a really good offseason. Desmond Bane was a huge pickup for their offense. We'll see how that goes this year. But 2 years from now, there is definitely a spot for a scoring point guard there, an elite defense. There isn't really a better basketball fit for where he could have the biggest impact and take a team to another level than Orlando. I love Denver. That would probably be another backup situation to Jamal Murray, but playing with Nikola Jokic and probably being in some closing lineups. And again, that has to be his decision if he wants to come off the bench or be a starter. But I'm with Ashley. I think the Timberwolves, from a basketball standpoint, they are 100% in need of what he offers. So he's going to have the time, the role, all of that stuff. But then they are also like one piece away. And he can be the piece. So it fills both boxes. I really think the Timberwolves would be a great fit. But does he want to live in Minnesota?
Yeah, and the good thing is, as I said earlier, he does have a bit more freedom when it comes to choosing where he wants to go because the Bucks waived him. So we'll have to keep our eye on that. Brad Botkin, Ashley Nicole Moss tapping in.